You are showing, but you kind of. Hello,
Frozen.
everybody. We went live just at the wrong time, but it's okay. I'll get it going while Ibrahim picks himself up, but he seems to be frozen. But it's okay. Welcome everybody to this week's and one of the last ones of this year, 2025, of BioBridge, where we connect Japan and the rest of the world in anything in life sciences, but mostly therapeutics, so a little bit of medtech. And today we're talking rare diseases. And Ibrahim is right back on time. Say hello to everybody, Ibrahim.
Hello.
Are you there,
Welcome.
Ibrahim?
Yep, I'm
Yes.
here. Oh,
Oh,
hello. Hi, everyone. I was like pretending to. I'm just joking this time out.
okay, we're not sure if we understand Ibrahim humor, but it's okay. Today we have a very very special guest. We have Yukari Blumenthal. She is, I think, the expert in rare diseases when we talk about Japan and outside of Japan. So we invited her to tell us about yeah, rare disease in general, rare disease development in general, but also she's personally involved, also her family life. So we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to dig right in. Hello, Wikali. Thank you very much for sharing your time and expertise with us today.
Hello, Tetsu and Ibrahim. It's so nice to be here with you. I was really looking forward to this. Thank you for this opportunity.
Fantastic, fantastic. I've been chasing Yukari for a few months on LinkedIn. I saw someone post Yukari's presentation or his impression on Yukari's presentation, and I've been wanting to see it. And then a few weeks later, I saw her live in the middle of the night here in Canada, but in the afternoon in Japan, and I was really touched. It's not just a presentation about science and really the drug development processes and whatnot, but it's a very personal story. So we're going to talk all about that. So Yukari, we want to know who is Yukari Blumenthal. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dig into the rare
Sure.
disease specifics.
Sounds good. So I'm Yukari again. And first of all, I'm the mother of a child who is affected by Alexander disease, which is an ultra-rare, progressively fatal leukodystrophy condition. So it's a condition that's the astrocytes in the CNS is being affected. So that's my son's condition. And beyond that, I'm a physician by training, and also I'm a researcher at Kyoto University Center for iPS Cell Research and Application. I also work for a pharma, where I serve as a discovery research medical lead and looking after these early stage projects, as well as I also work for AMED, which is a Japan version of NIH, where I am in charge of taking care of all these early stage academic research proposals and evaluation of those. And what else? So I'm also a part of
What else?
patient organization. Yeah, I know, sorry. It goes
No,
on, but
you have so many hats. It's really impressive. Like just I can't imagine just already having a child with a rare disease, but on top of that, if you've got a full-time job doing research and also like have another job with AMED, all these different roles, uh, hats off, hats off.
anyway, so I'm involved with the patient organizations as well. So that's me in a nutshell. Keeping
My
myself.
goodness. So so let's go back a little bit in time because I'm assuming you born in Japan, grew up in Japan, studied in Japan, had a career in Japan, um, but somewhere along the way you were outside of Japan for a while. You came back, so that's really the high level, you know, outline that I see. But I need some details.
Sure. I think that also applies to both of you. But I was born in Japan and grew up until mid high school and moved to American high school. And then from there, I graduated from university in the States. But for my medical degree,
Oh,
medical
okay.
science, yes, I moved to UK. And I was doing the training in UK, Cambridge. And my plan was to stay there. But of course, the life always has different plans for us, right? Mine was a bit unfortunate one, but my son's diagnosis brought me back, made a full circle back to Japan. And the reason was, so we realized this condition didn't have any effective treatment back when I received the diagnosis. So I looked for research teams and universities which might be interested in taking on drug discovery research for Alexander disease. And one of them happens to be located in Kyoto, the Kyoto University research team. So I applied, and at first I thought I would just develop the treatment myself. But then soon enough, I realized it really requires multi-stakeholders collaboration to be able to discover and to bring it to the market. So that's how I got into the drug development within pharma.
Wow, but you skipped a few years very quickly. You went to the States in the high school and you did your medical training in the States? Is that?
No,
And
in
then you went
UK.
to the UK? Oh, you did
Yeah.
it in the UK. Okay.
Yeah.
And then from the UK, I mean, somewhere along the way, you had your child, maybe in the UK or in the US, I don't know.
UK, and then, well,
Okay.
technically I gave birth in Germany, but that's a long story.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Anyway,
Okay, we're used to that.
Yes.
Used to complexity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you
And
decided
then,
to go back to Japan because of Kyoto University.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
wow, so, a disease without a cure, and you go out and try to find the cure yourself. It really makes me think of that movie Lorenzo's Oil.
Yeah.
And so you came back how many years ago?
So that must have been 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago. Yeah. And that time, we didn't think we would be actually relocating back to Japan. So we didn't even take anything with us. And we were visiting just to really apply for Kyoto University, and that's all. And realized that COVID started and we couldn't move back. So we just,
Oh,
yeah. So that was the time. Yeah.
so you started your Japan stay in Kyoto. Is that how it
No,
started?
actually, we're still here in Ashikaga, Tochigi, but
Okay,
commuting in a way. Yeah.
I see. I
Not
see.
so
And so
frequent
you
because of it. Yeah.
and then somewhere along the way came where you work right now, Astellas, and also AMED, and
Yeah.
the whole picture becomes.
Complicated.
I don't want to say the word, but I mean, you started with the Kyoto research.
Mm.
How's that going? Where is that leading to, and how does that connect to Astellas? How does that connect to AMED? Um,
Yeah, thank you. So at first, like I said, it was a COVID time. So everybody was basically doing basic research remotely from their own places. So that was, for me, worked out because I couldn't have commuted that often anyway, or relocated to Kyoto. And then soon enough, I learned from my professor that there is something called the AK station, Astellas Kyoto station, which basically they do the research collaboratively. So they advised perhaps if I wanted to develop a drug, commercial drug, then you have to work for the other side, which then we started talking with this side, industry side. And soon enough, I found myself in my current position. So that's really all natural or led by, I don't know, something like fate or necessity.
great. Well, yeah, but you became an MD in the UK, but this
Yeah,
was not having in mind research and drug development. It was more about clinic, right? I'm
yeah.
assuming. So now you jump into the world of drug development. There must be loads of new things, new experience, and furthermore, in the complexities of rare diseases.
Yeah.
How did you overcome all these overwhelming obstacles that
Well, I didn't have a choice for one. And even medicine, I wanted to be a practicing surgeon. And
Mhm.
the reason I chose that career to start with was because I wanted to be involved with people's lives and be able to contribute for the betterment of, people's lives. But with that regards, it's kind of similar for drug development, but you're kind of impacting at the population level instead of one by one at the patient
Yeah.
level. So the core part, I still believe that's the same. But of course,
Yes.
yeah, like you said, it's a steep learning curve for me. There's so much
I
to
can
learn
imagine.
about developing drugs, let alone, rare disease is another thing.
There's something about rare disease development that really attracts me, where it pulls on the heartstrings. There's something about the highly vulnerable populations that doesn't have a support structure like other kinds of diseases that really I guess really attracts me to want to do something about it. Not that I do anything about it, but following you was one start.
You already
And,
did.
you know,
Look at this.
well, yeah, I mean, in my way, right, in my own way. But I can imagine how I guess scientists and other stakeholders in this world
Mm.
have sort of a dilemma between. I mean, drug development is financial. There's a financial incentive to that, other than helping people. When it comes down to rare diseases, sometimes there's this conflict. Like, how do rare disease researchers, drug developers, balance this need between you know a market and
Yeah,
helping the needy?
yeah, that's a very good question. And I don't think there is a single right answer, or
Mhm.
many of the questions to do with rare disease remain unanswered. But when you say rare disease, there's different levels of rarity. For example, there's common rare and ultra rare, and down to individualized N of one kind of rare. And for common rare, I think there's business feasibilities, as you can see from the approved drugs and with the high drug pricing. So I think it's one of the misconceptions that there's no business feasibilities in the rare space. So that's one. But of course, there's a lot of challenges. Of course, the market size is small, and depending on the modality, you can't really expect high drug pricing. And then I guess it's relative to the size of the pharma or the biotechs. So the profitability is relative to their size. And if the big pharma tries to do rare disease, they might think that no matter how high the price is, it's just it's with outside their scope. That's reality.
Mhm.
But for smaller companies, there still is, if you think about the compound annual growth rate for rare disease space versus the rest, the rare disease is about 12, 13% as compared to 7%. It is a robust growing market. And the low-hanging fruits, for example, the big indications have been fully explored before
Yeah.
today. So I think we should look at the different angles when it comes to drug research and development.
No, I think that's a great point. From a strategic perspective, there are companies that are specialized in rare diseases, the Genzymes,
Yeah,
and
because they
it is making a very good business case. And as you say, especially those that are more common rare diseases than
yeah,
the ultra rare.
yeah.
Do you think we're going to go more and more towards having more support for the ultra rare and even the n equals one with with modalities like CRISPR, or something that really becomes individualized as as precision medicine becomes more and more accessible? What do
I
you think
think
we're going
well, that's the natural course, I think, and that's
to?
proven
Yeah.
by all these regulatory incentives, not just FDA,
Mhm.
but throughout the world. There's been many regulatory incentives. For example, the tax deduction, the priority review vouchers, rare disease evidence principles, and China also offers really accelerated pathways, and these really speaks to the long-standing unmet medical needs. And many of them, actually, the rare disease, 75% is pediatric. And 1/3, they don't even make it to 5th birthday. It's just heartbreaking, really, if you really think about it. And about 80% is caused by a congenital condition. And most of them, we have technologies to address, develop drugs, but we don't because of the business reasons, not because of anything else like technologies, a lack of information, just pure business.
But
I have a question. Yeah. Sorry. So a lot of rare disease development really depends on government initiative, as well as regulatory incentives, et cetera, et cetera. And given that, this, I guess, BioBridge is about Japan and the US, much more well-known, right? Orphan designation and priority review vouchers, et cetera, et cetera. There's tax incentives. There's exclusivity as well, like 7 years of exclusivity if you're a rare disease or orphan designated, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of mechanism does Japan have?
We do have conditional approval and also accelerated, basically like orphan designation, Japanese version of orphan designation.
Yeah, and what kind of protection?
10 years. 10-year protection, isn't it?
Right. Extended protection. Yeah.
Extended protection. Okay.
But to be honest, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that depends on the modality, like gene therapy. It requires process validation. So let's say if there's a patent expired, but basically in reality, no one else could produce the same drug. So in a way, realistically, it's protected.
Yeah, even without protection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Now, in terms of tax incentives, et cetera, are you able to kind of elaborate on what's available in Japan specifically?
I was referring to the rest of the world, but Japan. Yeah. So the drug pricing part, we have a very, I would say, intricate or complex system where government would decide to add certain percentage on top of the standard calculated drug pricing. And also, if there is something similar already on the market, we refer to the drug pricing. So for the rare, of course, has to be the severe type and it has to be a very specific type of rare. We have precedents that would set the high drug pricing. So in a way, it is predictable we would receive high drug pricing given rarity and severity and so on, that criteria.
That makes sense.
Not exactly the tax, yeah.
But a lot of these new modalities, whether it's gene therapy, CAR T, and CRISPR, it's all very, very expensive today due to CMC. But just like the internet, I'm thinking we're gonna get better at this, and the price is going to go down. We can only improve. There's only upside from here. Unfortunately, a few companies had to suffer as pioneers in this world, but I see good things coming, right? In that sense,
it's true. It was unfortunate that first, the platform approach was kind of put on hold and didn't work out the way it was planned and hoped for. But this is something to do with the new modalities and newness itself. Uncertainties is always there. And if you think about let's say, transplant, the first case in Japan did not work out. But now look at where we are. So I think it takes time and, patience and perseverance. But I believe firmly that it will work out.
Absolutely. It's in a way, a lot of these stuff, it's scale up. It's like with small molecules, we do the medicinal chemistry part, but we also do the scale up part.
Yeah.
It feels like this is where we're struggling right now, and we're gonna get there. We can, only look to the bright side, I think. So,
Yeah, even the efficiency, the scaling up, compared to, let's say, 5 years ago, even we have much more robust production, parity and all that. And if you look maybe in the future, few years, yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't happen one day. But I think we are comparing apple to orange to different modalities and hoping that,
yeah,
with generic medicine would be there already. That's not the case, but it has been progressing with some setbacks.
yeah, that's great. Great. So, um, Ibrahim did mention a little bit about the different programs, I guess, in Japan for rare diseases. But I want to talk a little more macro, like
Yeah.
what rare disease drug development in Japan versus rare disease drug development outside of Japan, I mean, mostly US probably, and the
Yeah.
the EU. What are the big trends, big patterns that you see?
So I see lack of a trend in Japan. Well, no, that's not true.
Okay, Japan.
I think the problem or the issue in Japan is that there aren't many smaller biotechs and startups if you look at the statistics compared to even just Boston alone. So Japan is nowhere close. And like I mentioned earlier, rare disease market is small, usually. So the big companies won't be interested for business reasons. And usually it's hard for them to find a strategic fit within their pipelines and business strategies. So in the States, there are many biotechs and startups which are interested in taking up on these smaller indications because the success rate for these rare diseases is not necessarily low. If you look at 2024, all the FDA-approved drugs, I think 52% were indicated in the rare disease one way or the other. So it's
Wow.
really, the success rate isn't low. But the problem is the market size.
Yeah, it's yeah, I heard this from one of the presentations. It said rare disease is actually not rare when you look at the whole category of rare diseases. It's actually, together they are a very, very big category. But
Yeah.
obviously within that category, it's very fragmented. All the different indications. Um, how do you?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, again, if we're talking about business case, obviously one disease you need a certain number of patients, but there are companies like Genzyme that kind of go that say we're attacking just rare diseases, orphan drugs. How do they make a business case out of that?
I think one of the reasons why it was not considered business viable was because we applied to our traditional way of drug development, where the big pharma would be the sponsor and kind of orchestrate all these stakeholders, for example, the key opinion leaders and manufacturers and CROs and CDMOs and so on. So the upfront risk and budget is very heavy on the sponsor. So really, the downstream on exit drug pricings carry that unsuccessful cases of drug development. So if you look at the success factors and rate for the rare disease, it doesn't really have to carry that kind of burden of unsuccessful cases. And because it's such smaller indications and, okay, again, this is depending on the modality, we can expect accelerated timelines compared to traditional huge indications where the clinical trials might take 3-4 years. So if you could think about the way to carry out trials in parallel, I think it makes sense. Okay, each of them is smaller, but together it's profitable. And this is the basis of what we are trying to validate the model.
Uh-huh.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Now, it kind of, if it's okay, I wanted to talk about a little bit about patient advocacy because, that factors in a lot, right?
Yeah.
And funding as well in rare disease spaces because there's NGOs and nonprofits that kind of actually have grants, right? And as Tetsu mentioned, rare disease involves a lot of, I think, more faces in a way.
Yeah.
And it's a very more personal. Um, um, you could actually sometimes when you could actually count the number of patients that are there all over the world, right? And then a lot of times, even in what I do, people reach out to our company because there might be an application of our drug in their rare disease.
Mm. Yeah.
And I know patient advocacy is a very, very big um, or
Moving
again
forwards.
structurally available in the US because
Yeah.
generally, I think the infrastructure is kind of set up for that.
Yeah.
And how is it in Japan? I know in Japan, there's cultural nuances. I know, like with privacy, for example, uh,
Mm-hmm.
of being vocal about someone having rare disease in your family, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, is that developing in Japan? And how's patient advocacy in Japan nowadays?
Thank you for this very important point, because definitely I see, coming back from outside Japan, I see the cultural differences, and there's social stigma to do with intractable rare disease. And somehow I think it used to be thought that genetic disorders come from previous generations on, so it will be passed on. But I think I see this trend that people are getting more educated. They have more easy access to information themselves anywhere that they are. And because there are people who are openly speaking about it, and hopefully slowly public would be interested in learning about it. It is difficult if they don't know that we exist.
Yeah.
so yes, there's definitely cultural differences. In Japan, people are not necessarily outspoken, and the infrastructure is not mature like the case in the States. So there are different factors making this a bit slower movement than I would hope.
And how are
But
you tackling that, particularly in your space? And how's AMED, for example, is there government support with advocacy?
the way they work is, of course, they want to advocate, but we're in a very unique position. So not necessarily advocating for one specific condition is possible. So instead, we, like NIH, we create funding sources so that academic researchers can apply and then develop through their research. So this is one way that the government is promoting.
Tetsu, I think you had a question, right?
Well, you actually just said it. I wanted to know, because in Japan, the patient advocacy part, it feels like it's not as powerful as the US or EU. I mean, I've been involved a little bit with Fabry disease, and I've had the chance to meet the head of the Japan Fabry patient advocacy group, and it was just a little apartment. That was the office with like three people there, and that's it. That was the head of the patient advocacy group, and it's just what I imagine when I go to like an ALS conference. Then the
Yeah,
patient advocacy groups, they're all
right.
there. They've got their booths and they've got the pamphlets and everything. It's just a different level. So my next question, what you already asked, is how much does the government support and help in Japan? The parts that the patient advocacy group is lacking.
So we have something called JPA, which really foresees all these smaller conditions and their patient organizations. And the business size, I believe, is something like, this is ballpark, but 350,000 per year. So if you compare to the US size, it's really like 1/100th of the size that the government or donations or funding would support the organization. So that alone, because oftentimes in the States, I see that the patient organizations would drive the research, early stage research. They would reach out to academia and ask, if they would be interested in taking up on this project, and then we would give you this much fund. So that kind of movement is very, very difficult to materialize in Japan.
Yeah.
With,
Is there any initiative, since this is BioBridge, we're talking about building bridges, how, or are there any initiatives or opportunities for non-Japanese companies to enter Japan and vice versa, especially in the rare disease space, to
yes,
foster
the
development?
short answer is yes, and I see that trend. I cannot disclose the details, but in the coming years, I think we will see more and more involvement from the foreign companies because they see the opportunities. So one of the things for me is attractive is that the Japanese academic early stage seeds, drug seeds, haven't been explored because we don't really have a lot of VCs in Japan. And I think that trend is about to change. There's a lot of open innovation management movements. There's a lot of foreign companies and researchers and even investors coming into Japan as we speak. So I think the trend will be different in the coming years. Mark
This
my
is
words.
music to my ears.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. Like, and then I guess in terms of people that are interested in the rare disease space, who are the current leaders in Japan in the rare disease space? And you could include Astellas because I'm just joking. But
Well, I would say, so about 2 years ago, there's something called Rare Disease Consortium Japan, which was born from NCNP, the National Center, from the physician researcher. So that there's that organization, the consortium. And there's another one that Tetsu attended, the Osaka-based rare disease soon-to-be consortium. And we're kind of putting the forces together to accelerate this movement. So there is that, but that's not for-profit organization.
Yeah.
So I think, Ibrahim, you asked about the business side of the leaders, or?
No, I guess there's always people that are interested, obviously, in rare disease space, right? In the US, et cetera. But it's hard. For example, you had a personal link to Japan, which enabled you to I guess get into Kyoto University's ecosystem, right? But I'm sure there are people interested in a rare disease space that might be looking for more, easier ways to get into the ecosystem for them. And so let's say like Takeda is really big at rare disease. They might start applying to Takeda in Japan or something of that sort. Like, are there any kind of leaders that, might be good to know for people that are interested in that space?
Yeah, so there are obvious ones like Axelid or things like JCR, which is dedicated for AV vector for these kind of rare serious conditions. So there are a few companies, but for bigger pharmas, I would say depends on their focused strategies. And if that strategy is changed, then rare disease might not necessarily within the scope. So it changes. I have seen it changed even the last 4 years. So I wouldn't really name this company as a lead or not. It's really difficult.
Yeah, no, which is, I mean, it was kind of a loaded and unfair question for me to ask. No. I guess, it's always good to know, right? Because how do we actually build bridges, right? It's
So
you've done it and we're here. So it's like, how do we get people here, there to you as well?
maybe the simple question is, why should global companies care about Japan or doing, research in Japan or even specifically with rare diseases in Japan? And one thing I would mention is AMED's, the strengthening program or startup program that is open to global companies if you have a Japan story around your asset. So that is a tremendous program that can attract global pharmaceutical startups and also for global VCs. It's a tremendous program for VCs to get registered for. So those are the things that I think Japan is doing well. It's taking public funds and they are aiming for companies that have cutting edge technology modality, and also, rare disease, I think, is a focus that's part of the scope. So all
Yeah.
this is great, program, I think, from AMED, and I hope there's more. I know
I
there's
sure do.
lots of things brewing. I talk to those guys every once in a while. I'll see them at JP Morgan next month. These are all things that are, as Yukari said, happening in real time. We know that something good is coming in, 2026. It's going to be a huge year, I think. Lots of investors are going into Japan, all these innovation events with VCs and pitch events. Oh, there's loads of them happening right now as we speak, and they're often open to global companies. And every time I see one, I just send them to my friends and say, apply to Japan, you know?
Yeah.
So this is great.
Yeah. So I would add another thing would be the mismatch between the innovations within Japan and the actual, biotechs and startups production. There's a huge gap, which means there's a lot of seeds that haven't been explored. That's because we didn't have somebody to evaluate and then find it business viable. So that gap can be translated into opportunities for some. I think so. And there's a lot of open labs like SACLab
Yeah,
from Astellas or
yeah,
iPark and things like this, where anybody
yeah.
can rent the laboratory space, and in a way you can collaborate with resident researchers from other companies, which is great. So that organic kind of chemistry amongst different researchers, that's attractive.
Yeah. Incubators, accelerator programs,
Yeah,
domestic, global, they're all kind of coming together now, and lots of know-how and capital coming into Japan. This can only be good. Um, the Japanese technology will increase in value at the global level because they are currently often undervalued due to the low investment, I guess, level in Japan. But now with
right.
global capital coming in, it's going to balance out, hopefully. Um, so all this is good, definitely.
Are you able to tell us what technologies right now are super, super high tech in Japan? And I know
Super.
you're in the iPSC space, so like that obviously comes to mind, right? Um, Japan's probably very powerful in that because that's where it got discovered, et cetera, et cetera. So, are there any that are you can highlight that are like Japan's?
20-year anniversary next year.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
The
that's
very
that.
original ones are going off then.
I think though that
All right.
question is very, very difficult to answer though, Abraham,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of breakthrough drugs don't necessarily come from the land of Japan. It
Yeah.
can be brought into elsewhere and then, flourish there. But
Yeah.
in the iPS cell technologies, I think we're at the very mature stage where we see the actual realistic logistic challenges.
Yeah.
So I think it's the time to kind of shift where we are. This is just personal opinion though.
Right.
And well, I think automated incubation and that kind of robotics technology to aid this research, I personally is kind of interested. That would really accelerate the timelines, and
Yeah.
that's to us is
Oh,
innovation itself. So it's kind of augmentation of these
Right.
breakthroughs, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the type of thinking I was thinking is why Japan? Like, how can we say for this you better get something from Japan? Same thing as like if you want a reliable car, you get a Toyota.
Yes, the
Like, and
quality work.
Sony
Yeah.
was once upon a time. So like, what is there in rare diseases that's unique to Japan or Japan's extra
that
uh,
makes perfect
advance
sense.
in that you better get it from Japan?
I think the rare disease really requires close attention to the details. It's not, one size fits all kind of drug development. So we talked about Japanese culture. I think Japanese culture and the way people operated business, pursuit for quality work, I think all fits into this rare disease drug research and development. And the manufacturing too, we don't have too many CDMOs or manufacturers, but when we do, their quality is very high. Their work is very, yeah.
Well, I understand that the government is pushing, well, we're giving a lot of support to new CDMOs and trying to make manufacturing part of a lively part of the ecosystem in Japan. So that's definitely good. And Ibrahim's question originally, I thought you were talking about the next cutting edge molecular thing, like Ferrupto Cure. I think that was a company in Japan that's really hot right now. I thought it was something like that, some new modalities. But no, robotics came up, and I thought that makes perfect sense because I was saying, these manufacturing technology advancements that's going to reduce the price. Robotics is obviously one. I was listening to a presentation by a company from China, and they have AI drug discovery. So all the medicinal chemistry part is done by AI, which is not rare. But once that's out, they've got like a room full of robotics
You
and
have to
all the
validate.
high throughput screening and all that biological assays is all done by robots. Like, wow, this is a whole new world.
Yeah,
It's
right.
incredible.
We are not quite there yet, not fully.
But definitely these are the things, the scalabilities, that we have to take advantage of. That's going to reduce the price and then make it accessible for all the patients out there. So, so all right. So we're gonna start thinking about kind of moving homeward bound. I'd like to see if you have some sort of a message as somebody who's got so much experience in the rare disease drug development. Like, is there a message you could give out to all the rare disease developers, founders out there for, I don't know, encouragement or a mistake that you see everybody make that everybody should be aware of, or your message, I guess.
Thank you for this opportunity. So I know we talked a lot about the business side of rare disease drug development, but really, in the end, our goal is to deliver these innovative drugs to the patients. And if you look at these rare disease patients with a fatal condition, what you produce is really saving their lives and our future in the long run. So that kind of impact. Nowadays, we have technologies and informations, so to do whatever we want to materialize in this world. So my message is we want to do things with purpose. Like, what kind of impact do you want to leave behind? So for me, it's very personal, not just professional. And I've seen these kids who want to live but can't. They don't have options to live. And at least I want to see the world where people who want to live can live. And so I'll do my part. And I just hope that everybody else would find their own part and contribute together. So that's my message.
It's a beautiful.
Thank you. It
No,
is. It is. Um, it's the message that I felt, when I saw your presentation. It is obviously personal, uh, but to have somebody like I don't have a kid with rare disease or anything, uh, but it still tugs on my heartstrings and makes me want to do something about it. And you know, I don't know how to, I don't have any expertise in it, but whenever I see an opportunity, I see somebody that I think I should, present to Yukari, that I just jump on the opportunity. If I have an opportunity to see you in person, definitely I want to do that. And that's kind of my way to contribute. And hopefully I'll find more. I don't want to say meaningful, but no, more opportunities to contribute. And yeah, it's good that you have a message that's emotional and not just not practical in a sense like, oh, you should all avoid this error, like kind of what I was trying to say at the beginning. It's emotional. It's something that's very common to everybody. So thank you for that message. So Ivan, do you have anything else? Any other questions before I ask my last wrap up question?
no.
No, you sure? You
Yeah,
sure?
I'm good. I mean, after that beautiful message, like, and reminder, right? Like, the thing is, we talk so much about business case and viability and whatnot, but
Exactly. Yeah.
like you can't top really having an impact and having a purpose. It's a good reminder for all of us.
Indeed.
Isn't that why a lot of us are in life sciences, right?
I believe so.
Indeed.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to forget that. So my last question is very normal. How was your 2025?
Oh,
What are you
yeah.
looking forward to in 2026?
It's that time of the year. 2025, it was full. It was, yeah, it was very full. That's it. Yeah, it was very eventful. And I can't even believe it's already the end of December.
It's insane, isn't it?
And I hope the next year will be the same. I'm really grateful.
It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it's the end of a very jam-packed year. Lots of things have happened, ups
Right.
and downs. But we made it through. I had, great fun going through it, and it's hard to say, but next year seems like it's going to be even better. And I'm definitely looking forward to starting it off with a bang at JP Morgan in a few weeks. What are you guys looking forward to in 2026? Any big events?
Well, I cannot disclose yet, but we are hoping for big news. But you will find out.
All right. Fantastic. That's fantastic. Ibrahim, anything?
It's a hard one. I think man, you have like the best word. I think it's like being grateful is very important. So, it's always, I guess, it's a good reminder that I have to be grateful of all that's happened in 2025 and, just hope that this continues for 2026. No matter what the negatives were, what the positives were in 2025, like I hope the positives continue through 2026.
Fantastic. Well, Yukari, thank you very much for sharing your time and expertise. And we definitely hope to see you again on BioBridge in the near future. And now you've got us all intrigued. We're really looking forward to the big development next year. Hopefully, it's earlier than later. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Have a nice
Okay.
evening.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.